Hello everybody, I am very excited to speak about this topic today because it's something I noticed that a lot of INFJs do. I think a lot of us put too much significance into this label, INFJ. We put it basically on a pedestal and then expect it to explain pretty much anything that happens to us. But that's not how it works in real life, and I'm gonna explain you that throughout the video. Alright, now, as always, if you would like to skip to the summary section or the most important points, then you can find them all around me or in the description box below. So I've noticed a lot of posts on, for example, Facebook. They had posts like, is it an INFJ thing that I don't like when other people touch my stuff? Or is it an INFJ thing to be very curious? Or is it an INFJ thing if I don't like trivial things? And that was very interesting for me because then I started to understand that a lot of people really think that INFJ is something that can explain way more than it can actually explain. So what basically happens is that we put this label INFJ on a pedestal, and that means that we are identifying with it. And what's the problem with identifying with it? Is that you are trying to explain absolutely everything in terms of INFJ. And automatically at the same time you are becoming closed to other angles, to other ways to explain yourself, to explain your personality. You're close to other sides of yourself. Now, whenever you are identifying yourself with something, then your mind's only job is to protect it, is to fortify it, and to try to fight with everything that it perceives that it can threaten it. So it creates this tendency to deny everything else that does not fit the narrative of INFJ, right? And it does it just for protection. And then bit by bit, you start to experience more and more INFJ quality, so to speak. And let me explain what I mean by that. So first of all, what is happening, you are gathering a lot of information about INFJ, right? And you're reading different sites and different articles, and maybe you're watching a lot of videos. And then what happens, you are trying to find these unconscious traits. And sometimes these traits are not the ones that were there as open as they were before you read this article. And the more you feel them, the more you exercise them. And the more you exercise it, the more you create a new identity that is based on the feelings and on traits and on thoughts and on actions that you were exercising. So it's just like waking up, for example, every single morning at 5 a.m. Yeah, the longer you do it, the more it's going to become part of your identity. And after a number of mornings, when you do this long enough, it's going to become part of you, when now it's going to be hard for you not to wake up at 5 a.m. And then the fifth thing, what might happen is that your mind is trying to protect that identity and sometimes even assign some sometimes unrelated traits to this word INFJ so that it becomes stronger. Because the more traits it has, the more assertive it becomes, the more powerful it becomes. But of course, it's an artificial way to build this INFJ identity or INFJ label. It is a very limiting approach. And why is it limiting? Because, like, imagine that you're reading an article that says INFJs have one of the most difficult times expressing their emotions, right? And how you feel when you read this article. Now imagine another article, exactly the opposite. INFJs have the easiest time expressing their emotions. How are you gonna feel when you're gonna read this article? And now imagine that you're reading one article a day, and that article is basically about the same thing that for INFJs, the easiest thing to do in the world is to express their emotions. And now imagine yourself doing this for 90 days, and how do you think how you're gonna feel inside? I can bet $1,000 that you are gonna feel way easier about yourself, and you are gonna be able to express your emotions more easily, just because you read it. And now why is this so? Well, because a text, especially a text that is concerning something important to you, in this case it's your identity, which is INFJ, which is something that you assign that it's you, right? So whenever you read about a text about something that is you, this enters your subconscious mind, and that's basically a collection of affirmations. So any text about your identity or about the thing that you decided that it's your identity is just a collection of affirmations. And affirmations are very, very powerful. There's a reason why they have been used, and they're still used, of course, in hypnosis. And they are a form of programming. They are programming because affirmations are your interpretations, which again create your emotions, and then emotions are pushing you towards specific actions which give you specific results. And now a really interesting question is, how much of what you actually read about INFJ has been observation and how much of it was actually creation? Or maybe a mix of both. Because I think when you started reading a lot about INFJ or watching videos about INFJ or maybe listening to podcasts about INFJ, I am pretty much 100% sure that you've been, well, for the next days after you've read this or listened to it, you started to exhibit the character traits that you listened to a little bit more, a little bit brighter. But our brain is trying to convince us that what we're doing is just observing reality, when in fact we're not just observing, we're also creating it. We're creating it because we are focusing on it. We're focusing on the thing that we are looking at, that we are watching, that we are listening to, that we are feeling. Yeah, anything that we are focusing on, that's what grows. And when we're thinking about the fact that INFJs have a difficult time expressing their emotions, and guess what happens? It's actually harder for you to express your emotions just because you read it long enough, read it enough times. That is the same thing that happened to me when I was reading. A long time ago, I was a fan of astrology, and I found out that I'm Aries moon. And I would read a lot and I would watch a lot of videos about Aries moon. Now it's funny to remember that. But I remember reading that, oh, Aries moon are actually one of the most masculine, one of the most outgoing, one of the most boldest signs out there, right? And then I was like, okay, yeah, but I'm not, I didn't have evidence to support it in my previous life, yeah? But then when I read this, I felt invigorated, and I felt more prone to act in Aries moon-ish kind of way. So the funny thing is, when I was reading about Aries moon, I would exhibit these qualities more brighter, right? But I did not even think that this was because I was reading about it. I thought that this is basically me. I didn't connect reading and watching videos about it and becoming like this. I thought I am like this. I thought I'm just waking it up. But actually I was creating myself. Why was I creating myself? Because me, just like every single person, who are we? We are a collection of our past versions, right? And today we have a choice to feed the version that we fed yesterday, or we can feed another version of us. Maybe we want to be something else, somebody else. And in order to do this, we need to feed this new version of ourselves. So what I was doing by reading and watching this Aries moon material, I was feeding my version, the version of Aries moon, right? And when you're reading and watching INFJs are this, INFJs are that, then that's what you're doing. You're feeding this version of you. So in my opinion, it's always two things. It's not just observing reality, but also you're creating it. You're also maintaining your identity. So what is the solution? The solution is to study a lot and to let go of this identity. I mean, yeah, of course, you can think, I am an INFJ, but I'm not gonna be attaching myself to it too much. Yeah, do not attach yourself. It's not a good idea, because when you are attaching yourself to one identity, you are again being closed to other ways of perceiving world, other ways of describing yourself. Let me demonstrate an example that can show you how limiting it can be to think about yourself just from one angle, just from the fact that you're an INFJ. All right, so imagine that you are having a cube, right? And of course, this cube has 6 sides, but however, you are looking at it from a specific angle, and this specific angle does not allow you to see this cube as a cube. This is an angle that shows you, that makes you think and believe and convinces you that what you're seeing right in front of you is a square. Yeah, you don't see other sides. All you see is just squares. I mean, just one square, And imagine that this square is black, right? So the closer you go, the bigger it seems, right? And then imagine yourself becoming smaller like a microbe, right? And then coming closer and closer and closer and closer to this cube, right? So this blackness is going to increase and increase and increase to the point where, like, if you're small enough, yeah, and you go there close enough, then every single thing is going to seem like it's blackness, right? And you're not going to see the end where this blackness ends. And so in this case, all you're going to see is just going to be blackness. And of course, your view of reality, and reality in this case is this cube, right? Your view of reality is going to be skewed. It's not going to be the truth. You're not going to see the other sides. And now alternatively, you can go further away from it and then see that it's a square, right? Of course, in this case, you still see it as a square, but the further you go, the smaller the square becomes, right? And now imagine that you're going really, really, really far away, like, I don't know, 1 kilometer or 1 mile away, right? And you're going so far away that you're not even seeing a square anymore. What you're seeing is just a dot. It's like a small, small dot. And again, you're seeing just a skewed version of reality, a skewed version of this cube, right? Because now it became a dot, whereas before that, it was like everything that you could see. And still, this is just one side of this cube. Now imagine that this same cube, of course it has 6 sides, but the black side was just one side. All the other sides have different colors. And when they have different colors, now it's becoming more interesting, because imagine there's a person that has been taught all his life to view this cube just from this angle, this specific angle, right? And all that this person sees is just a black square. Now, there's another person that sees that same cube, looks at the same cube, but from another point of view. And his culture, for example, or his parents, for example, taught him that this is the right way to view this cube, right? And when you view this cube from his point of view or her point of view, then you see a yellow square. So it's the same cube, but just a different color of the square, right? But it's the same angle, the same limited angle, just like that person. The only difference is that they see different colors. And now imagine other people. They're all seeing this cube from different sides. And 6 people see this cube as 6 different colored squares. And now let's make it a little bit more fun. Imagine that every single one of these people know life, yeah? And I mean this, quote unquote, they know life. They are egotistical and they feel inside of themselves that they figured out life. To the point where now they feel they have enough authority to teach you and teach me and teach other people how to live life. Because, come on, this is a square, right? I mean, that's what they think. And they are 100% sure that this is a square. And now the other person is also 100% sure that this is a square, but it's a different color. And now they're all going to be fighting with themselves. All of them, meanwhile, believing they're right. It's only when the person is going to be open enough to be able to rotate this cube, either horizontally or vertically, when he or she is going to be able to finally see different perspectives. Because until they do this, and imagine two people fighting and they're closed, they're both closed. All they know is that they're right. That's not gonna happen. I mean, they're not gonna find a compromise. Because in order to find a compromise, you need to look at another person's point of view. Because from this point of view, you cannot not see blackness. The only thing that you see is a black square, period. The only thing you see from that side is a yellow square, period. That's it. And the thing that they need to find out is how to rotate this cube and how to find out information about other sides and be humble enough to admit that you might not be this know-it-all kind of person that you thought you were before. So why did I mention this metaphor? In order to show you that there are many more perspectives than just one. And one side of this cube might be called INFJ. But there are many more other angles from which you can take a look at this same cube. And imagine that you are that cube, right? But they don't just have 6 sides. They can have hundreds of sides or even thousands of sides. And in my opinion, if you are taking into account absolutely every single angle that a person can be looked at, right? I think there could be millions of INFJs. And so let's explore some of the other angles from which you, this person that calls himself or herself INFJ, can be looked at. We'll start with mature or immature. As you know, the same person can be acting drastically different in different periods of their life, right? And that can be defined by maturity or immaturity. For example, an immature person is going to be over-dramatizing everything and blowing it out of proportion. Whereas the more mature one is going to be more relaxed, more chill, and more cool, calm, and collected about it. And he or she is going to be able to control their emotions better or to manage them. Even the wisest people on earth or the oldest souls, they all had this moment of being immature. Whether it was for a year or 3 months or 5 years, it does not matter. But this period was present in each and every life. So you see, INFJs can act completely differently when they are immature or unhealthy and when they're mature or healthy. The second angle that we can view you from is your cultural background or cultural environment. Maybe you've been born in a country that is strongly materialistic, and what they told you all your life is that things like astrology, for example, or past lives, that's just for stupid people, and just for stupid, esoterically inclined kind of people that don't know what they're talking about. That's not rational, that's not scientific. Science is what we need in this world. I mean, that's what they say. What they might say, rather. The third angle that we can view you is through the lens of religion. Because, for example, a person that is religious is going to be thinking in completely different, might be thinking in completely different way than an atheist, for example, or an agnostic person. Because an agnostic person, for example, or atheist, they're not going to be abiding by rules, and they're not going to have the same beliefs, sometimes not even nearly close to more religious people. And that might create a very different INFJ, even an INFJ experience. The fourth angle might be different experiences in your life. And for example, one INFJ might have been born in a third world country, in a very poor country, and maybe a dangerous place where there's war, for example, and in a very hostile environment. And now it's skewing their perception of life correspondingly, as opposed to another INFJ that was born in a first world country in a healthy, stable family. So now we're going to start with more complex angles, but I'm not going to explain each and every one of them in depth because that's going to take too much time. The fifth lens, or the fifth angle from which we can look at you, is your past lives, because all of us have different amounts of past lives, if you believe in it. And throughout our past lives, we either evolved or the opposite, we devolved, we disintegrated, yeah? And we had our own decisions and our own values and our own judgment, our own ideas, our own beliefs, and so on and so forth. And all of them have contributed to the person that you are today. And you could have had, for example, 500 past lives, or 1,000 past lives, or even 3,000 past lives. And each of them were unique, and each of them had their own unique contribution. And so, of course, you can easily see that there's no one person that can be exactly the same as the other person, even if they're twins. And these past lives have their own baggage with them, which is known as karma, which can be both positive and negative, so to speak. And when you have a lot of negative karma, you're going to be viewing life completely differently from the perspective of the other person with a lot of good karma. Because the person with bad karma is going to see this place, this earth, as a violent, dangerous, aggressive, hostile environment. Whereas the other person can see this life as something full of opportunities, full of happiness, full of joy, full of ways to express yourself, and full of ways to enjoy. Just enjoy life, man. So you see, it's completely different ways of approaching life. And both of them are INFJs. So now you're hopefully starting to see how it's getting harder and harder to say, oh, is this an INFJ thing? It's more complicated than that. The sixth angle could be Enneagram types. And I'm sure that most of you are familiar with Enneagram types since you're in the MBTI community. And you're INFJs, because INFJs are so smart, right? So you probably know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so the first Enneagram type could view an immature Enneagram type 8, for example, right? As somebody too bold, too aggressive, and ill-mannered. And when we take the opposite, the mature type 8 could see an immature type 1 as too nitpicky, as too follow by the rule or follow by the book kind of type of person, right? Or not very flexible. So you see, it's different shades of INFJ, and both of them are INFJs. Another angle that we can view you from is your point of attraction or point of vibration. I took it from the Law of Attraction teachings from Abraham Hicks, from Bob Proctor, from John Assaraf, and other wonderful people. But let me explain very briefly. So basically, in this theory, absolutely every single thing that you see like in front of you and in this world, including material things and immaterial things like emotions, thoughts, right? All of it has their own vibration, and there's a giant scale, and there are literally millions of different places where things can be placed, all of them vibrationally. And for example, if you are here, because every single person has their own point where they're dominantly at, and when you're here, for example, but you want something that belongs to this level, right? So you want, for example, a better car, or a better house, or a bigger salary, or a better relationship, or a better looking body, or so on and so forth. then if you want to achieve it, yeah, what you have to do, what you want to do is to imagine yourself being at this level, is to radiate, yeah, because whatever you radiate, you're going to receive. So at this point, what you're radiating is frequency at this level. So at this level, all you can do is just attract the same thing that you've been attracting for a while, probably, right? But if you want something bigger, then you have to change yourself. So my point is, an INFJ that is going to be here, for example, and another INFJ that is going to be here, yeah, and another INFJ that is going to be here, all three of them are going to be thinking differently. They're going to be interpreting the same one event in three different ways. One of them might be interpreting something, oh, this is a negative thing, right? The second person might be interpreting, oh, well, this is nothing. This is not positive. This is not negative. This is nothing. It's okay. The third person is going to be interpreting, yes, this is the most fantastic thing that ever happened to me. I love life. I love everything. Thank you so much, universe, for helping me achieve my goal or whatever. Yeah? So you see completely different interpretations or perceptions of the same one event. I can tell you even more. The same one INFJ can have periods of life, probably in the beginning, when they're at this level, then at this, and then they go towards the highest level. So now another two angles that you can view yourself, they're kind of connected to each other, is numerology and astrology. So let's take an extreme example, like somebody extremely fiery. Like for example, let's say a Leo sun with Aries moon and ascendant in Sagittarius, yeah? And he or she has life path number 5, yeah? As opposed to somebody extremely earthy, somebody like a sun in Capricorn, moon in Virgo, and Taurus rising. And let's say life path number 8, yeah? Completely different personalities, completely different approaches to life. One of them is going to be fiery, the fiery one is going to be more outgoing, more in your face, more maybe obnoxious, yeah, more brave as well, more courageous and more extroverted, right? And the other one is going to be more methodical, more cold, let's put it this way, more analytical, well, kind of as ambitious as the other one, but just in a very different way, more like calmer way. And they're going to be a little bit slower than the fiery ones. And what is important to understand is that in astrology, like astrology is a very complex topic. It has so many details that I heard from one astrologer that in order to become an expert just in one astrology, right, you have to study it for at least 10 years. I don't know, maybe that's a biased explanation or biased view, but that was his opinion. And I know for sure that a very skilled astrologer can find, for example, like 50 different things in your one natal chart, right? And these things all can have their own impact on how you view reality, how you think about yourself. Another angle that you can view yourself from is your chakras and finding out the dominant chakra. And people can be completely different in terms of, like, for example, somebody with a very developed third chakra or solar plexus chakra, they can view sex, for example, as a conquest, yeah, as a game in order to dominate, in order to win, yeah, in order to be the winner. Whereas for somebody that has a developed fourth chakra or heart chakra, their perception of sex is going to be about love, about connection, about becoming one with this person. So you see, it's completely different approaches. Another angle or side of that cube can be different aura types from a system called human design. I'm not going to explain it in depth, but I'll say that, for example, out of 4 different aura types, according to that system, Manifestors, for example, they're always going to have this aura that is repelling, that is a little bit intimidating for other people, and other people are not gonna really like it because they're not able to read it. Yeah, it's unreadable. And because it's unreadable, then they don't like it, they're afraid of it. Because anything that you cannot read, you don't know. And anything that you don't know, or anything that is unfamiliar, it becomes something unsafe, quote unquote. So people are gonna be staying away from manifestors more often than not. A lot more often than they will stay away from generators or projectors or reflectors. In fact, they will want to be with generators, reflectors, and projectors. But with manifestors, they will have to initiate the conversation first. And INFJs can have all different aura types, but their life experiences tell them that they're having completely different views of life. And then they're not going to understand, why am I this type of INFJ and why is your experience a lot easier? Why people are repelled by me for some reason and not repelled by you, because we're the same, right? We're one of the nicest types ever, like INFJ, right? But what's happening? Well, it's because you're just looking through the INFJ lens. But if you look from the human design lens, then you understand, whoa, okay, I have this energy that is basically like a train. A crazy train that comes to them at full speed, and they're afraid. They're afraid for their life. And of course, they're going to be reacting in the way that they're reacting. Whereas the other INFJ does not have this energy. His or her energy is inviting energy. And now finally, another angle of this cube could be spiral dynamics, which is a wonderful model of human evolution of individuals and societies at large. And to briefly explain it, it's basically values, yeah, which can be explained in 9 different stages. And they are categorized in with different colors. They are labeled with colors, and the number of stages is 9. And it's my personal opinion. Of course, it can be wrong, but in my opinion, most INFJs are in the green stage of spiral dynamics, and green stage is the 6th stage out of 9. And what stage green basically stands for is pacifism, peace, love, harmony, heart, beauty, high vibration, love for animals, love for equality, love for fairness. They're not really good in business, but they're very, very good with people. And there are many, many, many more characteristics of stage level green, and every other stage, of course, and you can study it for days. For days, just one stage, and there are 9 stages. I'm just giving you a brief introduction. However, if you would like a more detailed description of either this angle or other angles that I presented here, then just let me know and I will possibly shoot a video about this. And even these stages are not that categoric. So you're never just one stage and that's it, and like excluding all other stages. No, your mind, your consciousness basically is just a collection of all these stages, but with different topics. Yeah. Now this list is by no means the full list of all the different possible angles from which you can view yourself, your personality. But hopefully that gives you a good introduction to where you can start looking to find more about yourself. Now you can hopefully see that when you don't take these other angles into account, you can easily fail to analyze properly what is happening, yeah? And here is an example of that. One Facebook user asked whether it is an INFJ thing not to be attracted to the opposite sex instantly, even if they look genuinely attractive and have a quote-unquote likable personality. And so it's hard to attribute this just to this label called INFJ. What I think it's better to do is to try to answer this question from different angles. And here's an example of that. For example, in the past, you had a string of bad lifetimes. And in these lifetimes, you had bad experiences with other romantic partners. And now, of course, you're worrisome and you need to be, you think in your mind that you need to be extra careful to know that you're not going to have this situation anymore. Or maybe you had a fair amount of both positive and negative experiences, and now you have this nice balanced view of relationships, which means that you are not going to be jumping right into a relationship, and you are going to be taking your time. And that's why you are not falling in love, right? You just want to see whether he or she is a good fit for you. And to analyze it from a position of power, from a position of enoughness, not enoughness. And that's why you take your time. You take your time because you know that if he or she is the right person, he or she is going to be in your life. That's it. It's simple like this, because you have this wisdom inside of you. Another explanation could be from psychology, for example, where in your childhood you've been abandoned or rejected enough times for you to develop a trauma, right? Trauma response. And in that case, of course, you're not gonna see this as a really beautiful, easygoing kind of thing. And what you're gonna be wanting to make sure is that you're not gonna be abandoned. So that's why you're gonna be putting so much analysis into this person. Another explanation could be that you are just demisexual, which means a person that feels sexual attraction to another person only when they have an emotional bond, an emotional connection. Another reason might be that you might believe through your religion that if you are seeing somebody and you like her or him sexually, that means that you need to think about marriage, yeah? Because in your religion, you are not allowed to have sex before marriage. That is also a possibility. And therefore, that means that you're not going to be completely 100% attracted to that person. Because inside of your mind, you're going to have some self-sabotage. And that might make sense why it might take you extra time to examine this person in order to make sure that she or he is the right candidate to be your marriage partner. All right, so I gave you 5 different reasons why this might be the case, and these 5 reasons are not related to INFJ. They are just different explanations from different sides of the story. And all of these answers might be valid in your position. The thing is, we don't know enough details about this person that asked this question, right? And so in that case, we cannot just say, oh, it's just an INFJ thing. We need more data. All right, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope it was a useful video for you, and I hope you understood that it's really important to look at a situation from different angles in order to have a fuller picture. Now, if you found value in this video, then please give it a like and consider subscribing for more videos like this. Also, if you know somebody who you think will benefit from watching this video, then please share it with them. And maybe you can suggest some other ways to view yourself, other angles of this cube, so to speak. And if you have any questions or suggestions, then please let me know in the comment section below. Here is the summary, and see you in the next video.